Once upon a time, nestled between mist-covered mountains, was a small, quiet village. There lived a young man named Marco, just 24 years old. Marco was never at peace. His mind was a storm that never settled. From morning to night, thoughts came and went like crashing waves. Memories of the past that haunted him, worries about the future that paralyzed him. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't smile. He couldn't breathe without the weight of 1,000 thoughts pressing down on his chest. One evening, as he sat alone on his porch, watching the fog roll in over the hills, he whispered to himself, "Why can't I just be still?" Then, one day, Marco heard about a wise old man who lived in a village beyond the mountains. People said he was once a renowned psychologist in a busy city, a man who had helped thousands of people find clarity and peace. But one day, he had left it all behind. The noise, the fame, the rush, all of it. He had come to live quietly in nature, and occasionally he would offer guidance to those who found their way to him. A spark of hope lit up inside Marco. Maybe, he thought, this old man can help me find what I've been searching for. He packed nothing but a little food and his heavy heart, and began the long journey up the mountain. The path was narrow and steep. Ancient cedar trees lined both sides. Fireflies began to glow softly as the sun started to set, and at the top of a distant hill, Marco could see a faint lantern flickering in the window of a small stone cottage. He kept walking. When Marco finally arrived, the old man was sitting cross-legged in a quiet garden, eyes closed, completely still. Marco bowed his head respectfully and spoke, "Sir, my mind never stops. It is always full of fear, full of regret, full of noise. Can you teach me how to empty it?" The old man slowly opened his eyes. He looked at Marco for a long moment, and then smiled warmly. "Come with me," he said softly. He led Marco to a large stone courtyard, where a massive basin sat, filled to the very brim with clear, still water. Beside it, on the ground, was a tiny clay bowl, barely big enough to hold a handful of water. The basin was enormous. The bowl was tiny. The task seemed completely impossible, but without questioning, Marco picked up a small wooden ladle and began. Hours passed. The basin looked exactly the same. The bowl was barely filled. Marco's arms ached, his back hurt, and his mind, true to its nature, began to spiral. "This is impossible. Am I doing something wrong? What's the point of this?" The thoughts came faster and louder. Frustration built into exhaustion. He dropped to his knees, defeated. At that exact moment, the old man walked over quietly and knelt beside him. He said gently, "You have been trying to empty the basin, but you forgot the most important task. Empty your mind first." Marco looked up, confused. "But how?" he asked. The old man replied, "Let go of the worry. Let go of the need to control everything. Stop thinking about the basin. Stop thinking about the outcome, and simply be here. Focus only on this one ladle of water, nothing more." Marco closed his eyes. He took one long, slow breath, and then he let go. He stopped thinking about the basin. He stopped thinking about failure. He stopped thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. He picked up the ladle and focused only on that one scoop of water, the sound it made, the coolness of it, the weight in his hands. Then the next scoop, then the next. His hands moved on their own. His mind grew quiet, truly deeply quiet for the first time in years. No fear, no regret, no noise. Just this moment, just this breath, just this single drop of water. When Marco finally opened his eyes, the basin was empty. The clay bowl was full. Not a single drop had been wasted.
He turned to the old man, eyes glistening with tears he hadn't expected. The old man smiled, the kind of smile that holds a lifetime of wisdom, and said, "The secret was always inside you, Marco. When your mind lives only in this moment, there is no fear, no confusion, no suffering. You were thinking only of the water, and in that moment, your mind was completely free." Marco whispered softly, "So the only way to empty your mind is to fill it completely with right now." The old man nodded. That is the only peace that is real. The sun was setting behind the mountains. The sky had turned deep shades of orange and violet. Birds were flying home. Marco stood up, and he was not the young man who had arrived that morning. Something had shifted, something that couldn't be undone. He walked back down the mountain path, the same narrow trail, the same cedar trees, the same fireflies, but everything felt different, because he was different. He walked slowly, he breathed deeply, and for the first time in years, he smiled. Not because his problems were gone, but because he had finally stopped carrying them all at once. Peace is not found outside. Peace is found when you choose to live fully in this one moment. You don't need to solve everything at once. You don't need to carry the past and the future at the same time. Empty your mind, not by force, but by simply coming back to this moment. That is where peace lives. That is where you belong.